Welcome to this week's Lake Effect podcast. We're filming this at the Sandbox downtown Barrie. We're Barrie and Muskoka's fine home building podcast. Today I have a guest from MAK Mechanical. It's Alec McIntosh. We'll get into how we met sometime later in the episode. So welcome to the show. And
great to be here.
Yeah,
Love it.
It's awesome to have you. So you're serving Barrie and Muskoka. Your company serves Barrie and Muskoka.
Absolutely, yeah. We've got a pretty big reach.
Okay, so let's talk about MAK Mechanical. How did the company start, and what have you guys done in the past? What do you do now?
Okay, yeah, that sounds great. So the owner, Mike Kinsey, moved up from Bradford to Barrie with his wife at the time. He was doing some HVAC jobs, working for a guy, and one of those guys that needed to kind of go on his own. Push came to shove, and he's like, okay, borrowed a truck from his next door neighbor, grabbed an AC unit, and that's where the business kind of took off on its own.
When was that?
So we're 30 plus years now, so we got to be like early 90s.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So he's been going strong since then, and he was running 5 or 6 man crew for quite some time, and then in the last few years we went to 12 guys, and then as Barrie has kind of boomed, and we got into the light commercial area because there's not a lot of local guys that were doing that. So we got into the smaller high rises. We've gone up to about 45 people on our staff team now.
Wow, 45 people.
Yeah, it's been growing quickly, especially in the last about 2-3 years.
Okay, well I've met Mike a couple times.
Okay.
He's a pretty intense guy. Obviously.
Oh yeah.
He's the knowledge, like he's got a lot, he's the what's the word I'm looking for? He's the
brains behind the operation?
Yeah, like the Yoda of the...
Yes,
yeah.
the Yoda, yeah. Oh my gosh, can't wait till he hears that. He's
not from the look standpoint.
Not from the size of the, yeah.
We're talking the knowledge.
Very wise, yeah.
Okay, well, we have somebody in our company too, who did the original podcast, actually, Mike Cadenhead.
Yeah.
Been in the business 40 years.
Okay.
And it's just like... you see something, you get all excited about it. Mike just kind of strokes his beard. Oh yeah, I remember that. And I'm, 5 times I've done that. Or,
Yeah.
So you get that much experience, you end up being able to resolve a lot of problems. And
absolutely.
You have an opportunity to transfer that knowledge to the people that work for you.
Yeah.
So what's your position there?
So my position at MAK is sales and estimator for residential, custom homes, and small to light commercial.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That would be very on topip.
Fabulous. I'm glad I'm here.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, so we're going to jump to, if we could, Kale can jump to the screen. I'm just going to open this up here. We'll go through the first picture that comes up here is Cottage Life Show. So we'll start with that one.
So that is extremely timely. Cottage Life Show is coming up on the 20th of March. So in a few weeks, down at the Convention Center in Toronto, and we've been there. So Paul, who is our GM, has been at that show for 24 plus years.
Wow.
Last year was his first year not able to come, which is why in that picture there's a cutout of Paul that we had made just on the road from us from Gibson Digital. Snapped it off about 24 hours because we had to have him at the show.
Okay, so Paul's there in spirit. So
Paul's there in spirit. He's coming back this year, but he took last year off.
So I assume the purpose of being at the show, so you're going to have homeowners, you're going to have general contractors, suppliers walking around the show. They go to your booth. What do you want, especially for the homeowners and cottage owners? Can you go to the show and negotiate a deal? Can you bring a set of plans on your phone and forward it to somebody? Are you going to have expertise at the show?
Yeah, and there's that is exactly what happens. Like people are walking around with their plans in their hands, or they're just trying to solve a problem. Because especially because of COVID, cottages and how people have using the cottages has changed a lot. So you're going from your traditional 2 season, maybe a little bit more, to now really getting into that 3 to 4 season cottage. And a lot of these places weren't built with furnace, proper ductworks. So you're looking at retrofitting a lot of these places. So you got your plans and you're laying it out sometimes. You can absolutely negotiate a deal at the Cottage Life Show. Typically, as I'm sure you get too, you're like, yes, this is roughly how much it's going to cost, but you got to bring me up so I can see, are you on the Canadian Shield?
Yeah,
we put stuff.
So I have a good friend of mine runs a mechanical company. Did an improvement for me, very similar to what MAK Mechanical would do.
Okay.
He just did it as a favor. It's not really it's not really his wheelhouse.
Okay.
But he had some guys who put 2 split units in.
Awesome.
My cottage is pretty old. I think the neighbors telling me it was built in 1963.
Okay.
Primary source of heat is a wood stove.
Yeah, which is typical.
Yeah. So You want to take the chill off, and then there was no air conditioning in the summer. So
Yeah.
although tolerable because I'm on Georgian Bay, you get some breeze, but there's a limit to that in the end of August.
Oh, totally.
Bringing people from Alberta who are used to dry air, and you get into the hot, swampy Ontario summer.
Yeah,
You
like
want
I love
some-
the humidity, but like if you're not used to it, it's a lot. It's like walking through pea soup sometimes.
Okay, so the improvement, and I can see in the picture you have a Mitsubishi, looks like the one side of a Mitsubishi split
absolutely.
unit.
Yep.
The head went in. It was so simple. The head went in. The cables went in. The electrical got hooked up. It was two guys took care of the whole job.
Yep.
Ran the coolant lines.
Yeah.
And it is. If there's any cottage owners watching, it was night and day the usability of the cottage in the month of August, having that split unit be able to cool it.
100%. And a lot of the people that are coming up now, it's actually their kids that are telling mom and dad that have gotten to age, saying like, "Hey, I've got an infant. I've got a 4-year-old. Like, they're not sleeping if it's this hot. So unless you get cooling, we can't really come up." And so, grandma and grandpa are like, "Well, this is where all of our memories are. How do we?"
Well, I'm not a grandma and grandpa yet, but I don't want to
Yet.
take my arm off my side with a spatula, right? It really, there's that concern. There's the personal comfort side of things, but there's also the mold, the must, and the other stuff that happens in that season that you can avoid. That's why they call it air conditioning, because you're changing
Conditioning the space.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. How do you curate your space so it works for you? And a lot of this times, especially these mini splits or where you are, you can zone control it. You're like, okay, well, I spend my time in the master bedroom, and we're here all the time, and the main living room, and in the kitchen, and you set them up right. Two heads can kind of make it comfortable for, those days in the summer that are so sticky. Okay,
so there's that market, right? The retrofit market.
Yeah.
So we'll jump to the next picture here. Okay, the next picture is geohydronics. Now that's got to be a little more intense of a.
It's a lot more intricate. You're not seeing as many geos these days. So there was kind of that big boom era when there was a very big kickback for geothermal.
So the picture that we're looking at, it's like crazy nice. It's got looks like diamond plate walls.
Checker plate, yeah.
Checker
So
plate,
we're starting to make that on all of our installs.
Really?
Yeah. It just.
Can I convince you to do it out of glass?
I'm not saying no. I wouldn't say no. Like if it can be done, but this is the thing is your mechanical room doesn't need to be that like dark, dingy, like, oh, it's just a spot. Like when you're making a custom home, why isn't every area really not? Why isn't it sexy when you walk into your mechanical room? Like it could be, and that looks really nice. It's laid out. We go to make everything like symmetrical. You try to get the copper in there. It can look really good.
We've done lots of high-end, very high-end custom cottages, custom houses, lakefront stuff, some really big stuff. One change that I've seen is that sexy might be the top word used by plumbers next to money.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, So I think the plumbers, I've seen a lot of mechanical rooms in the last, let's say, 5 years with better insulation, pipes insulated better with not only insulation, but there's like a molded plastic insulation retainer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It kind of reminds me, I've owned some very old houses. I've owned the houses that are built in 1880, 1890, retrofitted. There's one I had in Aurelia that was in the built in the 1930s, 1925.
Oh, wow, okay.
Okay, and so they did the asbestos pipe covering with plaster and everything.
Yeah.
It's very attractive looking. I mean, despite the fact that it'll kill you, if you breathe it in. But
fair.
It seems to me that there's some a return to maybe some craftsmanship, or at least with your company, some craftsmanship from the mechanical room standpoint.
Well, and like a lot of our guys, like when you're working, who doesn't love to do a really great job and walk away and look at it and be like, yes, that like I'm proud of the work I've put in. So our guys are even, I would say, really taking a lot of pride and ownership in the jobs. Not that they didn't before, but when you walk away and it looks that beautiful, and our guys are trying to do that great work, and we're putting time into it. And sometimes it backfires. It takes longer, and we've got to own that. And we'd rather spend that time to do the job right, and our guys have that kind of support.
Well, I could see from the look of this mechanical room, like, as an owner, I mean, I could, don't own something geothermal or something this complex, but as an owner, in a cottage, you're going to have emergency situations.
Oh, yeah.
Especially, like, I'm out on an island, right? And
okay.
Yeah, so to get somebody there is not that easy, and you want something that is easy to read, very clear. Somebody had retrofitted my place with PEX off a manifold.
Yep, okay.
And I can tell you, on a Sunday afternoon in the fall when I'm trying to shut everything down, and it's just like so simple. Take off one panel cover. Everything's nicely labeled.
Yeah.
Everything's in order. There's. It's not like a nest of.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So this represents. I think people figure they're paying for it anyway. Right?
Yeah.
And so they want it to be neat and clean. This is very impressive. Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. So let's jump to the hydronics and talk about. The floor. So the next picture it's from Aurelia. This is a job you guys did in Aurelia.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so I zoomed in basically on the section. There's 4 boxes, looks like valves, electric valves, and then there's 3 boxes on the wall.
Yeah, so your zone controls, then you've got your pumps there to kind of coordinate with each one of those zones. And I think in this particular house, there's probably 15 different zones. One was for the garage. So you've got that floor heating. So like if you're getting, the cars are melting in the winter, that water is then starting to evaporate. So your garage isn't staying really, really wet. And then it's downstairs is how this particular location went.
Okay, so let's back up.
Sure.
I don't know what, is this to heat the floor of a garage?
It can, yeah. You can do snow melt too.
So what was this one?
So this one has, so it's got the zone, that was one. So it's got like, each individual room has its own zone. So what happens at the start is you lay down all these styrofoam pucks, and it's got little pucks all the way through it. And then you run these lines, hydronic lines, and each individual line is going to be a zone. And you can zone control that with different technical information.
So does this will this heat the whole house, or do you have
You can heat the whole house. I just did a quote for somebody up in Muskoka, actually, where the basement is going to be heated floors, and that's going to be a heating source. And then the rest of the house is actually going to be hydronic baseboards.
Okay, so if I was planning something like this, and I was watching this, there's a lot of options.
Oh, there's so many options.
So let's get this out of the way right now.
Okay.
What's the best way to get in contact with you? Because they're going to need technical advice.
Oh, for sure. And a lot of it is so the best way to contact me is either through phone or through our website.
What's your website?
Our website is MAK Mechanical.com.
Okay, we're going to jump to that. If we can jump to that real quick. Okay, and you can see right here at the top, MAKMechanical.com. As you go through the site, there's the about, of course, the heating, cooling, commercial, air and water, and the contact.
Yeah.
And are you the principal contact for
residential? Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so if somebody's building a cottage in Muskoka, they want to call.
Yeah,
Alex.
and we get them involved with the plans, get an idea of like where they want. So you get, you take the idea of like, where's your budget and where are your goals, like, and then start to kind of melt those two together to kind of bring it like a realistic ballpark of where you're going to be, and then get a heat loss design done with either like an engineer or heat loss designer to figure out how much heat you need. So this comes back into like what you're doing. He's going to take a look at the architectural plans, say, okay, what's the glaze factor in all your windows?
So
what's your insulation net?
Do you do that in-house? Could somebody just call you and you recommend somebody?
Yeah, we work with a few different ones depending on what the scope and the layout of the design needs to be, and what kind of expertise they need, and again, where your budget is.
Okay, so for a fire and forget cottage owner who's building something, let's say in the 3,000 to 7,000 square foot range, which is pretty large. I mean,
yeah, it's big. That's big cottage.
Yeah, is it usually the GC that would hire that person?
It can be either or. It really depends on what the homeowner needs. A lot of the time, the GC is coming to us because we've worked with them and they know that they can count on us. But absolutely, they can reach out to us and we can then make contact with the GC to kind of support that build.
And you're in Muskoka, like that's your.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Do you guys have an office there or trucks there?
Not
every
yet.
day?
Oh, I would say trucks there. Yeah, like sometimes 2 or 3 trucks in the area on any given day. It just depends on what's going on. Yeah, it's a little bit quieter right now because we're in the winter. But yeah, we're looking to open up an office in that area in the next little bit for sure.
Okay, awesome. So you're obviously, Kale doesn't know the story of how you and I met.
Oh my gosh.
My wife does, actually. So that sounded wrong, but anyway, she
she's very nice. Yeah, we had dinner together.
Yes, we did. Okay, so let's so we're both members of the Muskoka Building Association.
Yeah.
Great people. We also own Muskoka Glass by Accurate, which
nice.
was Don's company, and we relocated it to Howland Street in Huntsville. So the weather's been pretty crazy this year. There's been some immense amounts of snow, temperature variations, and there was an evening at Deerhurst Resort. So,
there was.
Yeah, so for Cale's benefit here, we're going to Deerhurst Resort. Of course, we're watching the weather. We have a podcast we did just about driving in Muskoka. We need our shop here in Barrie in order to produce the glass. We're a fabrication company. We have tempering ovens, that kind of stuff.
Okay,
so
nice.
So our guys we're around the corner. By the way, MAK Mechanical and Accurate Glass. You could walk in 5 minutes.
Oh yeah, we're right over there.
Right over here.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so we're checking the weather. We look at the satellite, the radar. We did a whole podcast on that.
Yeah.
But we're not gonna do anything dangerous. Okay, but we're definitely not gonna give up easy. We have 4-wheel drive trucks.
Yeah, you're good to go.
Yeah, go get the job done, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So my thought and feeling was the same. I jumped in my pickup truck with my wife and I headed up to go to the dinner, and it was the most insane snowstorm. Highway 11 was shut down.
Yeah.
And so what happened is all the trucks on Highway 11 were diverted off of the highway.
Yeah.
And these guys, a lot of them were from British Columbia. And I don't know if you do. Have you ever been to British Columbia?
I lived in Prince George actually for about a year.
Excellent. Okay. Yeah. So I lived in Kelowna for a couple of years.
Okay.
Yeah. And so you know that the only real place you're going to come across that kind of driving is when you go through a pass.
Exactly.
Right? The lower areas is not like that. And when you go through a pass, it's a giant highway. It's 6 lanes sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay. This was guys from BC diverting to side roads that were like 2 lanes, tiny 2 lanes, no shoulder, sharp corners.
Oh, yeah.
And so
Classic cottage road.
Classic cottage road.
Yeah.
Okay, with a 53-foot trailer and a sleeper cab stuck on every corner.
Yep.
Throughout the entire region.
Or jackknifed.
Yeah. Okay, so I come up to a truck stuck on a corner. I'm the first car. The tow truck's trying to pull him out. It ain't gonna work, but I couldn't. The tow truck driver needed to try. Okay, he wasn't gonna give.
Fair enough.
You were
fair
there.
Enough. Yeah,
okay.
he had to give it a go.
Okay, so Alex is independently. I haven't met him at this point. He's in a truck a couple of spots back, and there's a lineup of probably 50 or 60 cars.
Oh, at least. Yeah.
Okay, so ourselves and a bunch of other people worked for like an hour and a half to convince the tow truck driver to get off the road, to stop people from driving up in the wrong lane, and to get the traffic moving south, which was a line of like 100 cars. Because if they could get by, then we could get by and make it to Deerhurst.
Absolutely.
Okay.
After being in on that drive for about 2.5, 3 hours?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Are you still following me here? Am I going overboard? So we got the line going, but as soon as I ran back to jump in my truck, as I was first in line to let 100 cars go by, the cops showed up and shut it down.
I forgot that.
Yeah, so I worked my ass off, and then the cops, no, forget it. And then I'm like, listen, man, we can just let us by, and then you can shut the road down. So he said okay, but I don't think he let everybody by. I think he let me, you, and maybe one other guy by, and then he shut it down.
Oh, no way, really?
You didn't catch that?
No, I totally missed that.
Okay.
I was like, I got somewhere to go.
So, yeah, well, after 2 hours of madness at this corner, all that happened is a few kilometers away, we got to the next corner, there's another truck stuck.
Oh, I think I turned around like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
It was nuts.
Okay, but everybody did their jobs. The police did their jobs.
Everybody was good about it too.
Yeah. There was like there was no real flare tempers. It was really,
No, I didn't see any weird shenanigans. Like people were kind of like, yeah, this is Ontario winter, and you just make the best of it.
Okay, so you and I had spoke just like we're just strangers.
Yeah, we just had a quick little chat.
Okay, so then he disappears. So Cale, he disappears. I make it to Deerhurst. And I get to the table and I sit down and start talking to these folks who are local who drove down the street to get to Deerhurst.
Yeah.
And they're talking about their friend who's stuck in traffic and all this crazy stuff, and he's texting them, and they don't know if he's going to make it and this kind of stuff. And then my friend's here, and who sits down but Alex, the guy who was right behind me, right behind me in traffic.
I said, there you go. We met recently. Yeah. And then to find out that we're neighbors in Barrie.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. That was it was an interesting way to meet because I remember looking at your friends. He was in the stone business.
Yeah. He works for Muskoka Stone.
Muskoka Stone, that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yeah,
Jeremy, yeah.
And I'm
Great
like,
guy.
yeah, you remember all those texts? That was us, right?
Yeah.
The only thing is we were just one car ahead.
That's it.
Yeah.
I know, it was, what a night.
Yeah,
Because
that
I had
was-
actually left Gravenhurst the night before. It was like, okay, snow's coming down pretty hard, but it started at like 4:30. I was like, roads will be clear. Won't be a problem.
Okay, well, I that's always been my opinion. I don't know about you, but I've got a lot of driving under my belt.
Fair bit, yeah.
I had one pickup truck when I sold it, had 600,000 K, and I actually,
Whoa.
well, I drove it up to the Arctic Ocean
Amazing.
and to the Gulf of Mexico.
Okay, I want that story one day.
Yeah, it's too long for this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it was great. Ford pickup truck with the inline six and the manual. It would just go anywhere, right? But
Gotta love those vehicles.
Yeah, I was young and I had to live in the thing. I was a pilot at the time, living in the.
Oh,
back
no
of
way.
Yeah, that's what bush pilots get paid, just
Yeah.
enough to live in the back of their truck.
Yeah. I had a few buddies as pilots. Absolutely.
Yes,
Puddle jumping.
Yeah. It's fun. It's the romance is there, and so is the danger. Okay, so let's get back to the the mechanical. Okay, so the next picture. So you guys, so there's a residential component of the business.
Yep.
You're responsible for the estimation.
Yeah.
You obviously have some form of technical expertise because you're,
Yeah.
I mean, I was a site super for many years, and it sounds like you can probably talk circles around me. Okay, so you've probably seen a lot of plans.
I've
right?
seen a lot of plans. Yeah.
Have you seen, and you've seen a result of those plans too?
Yes.
I imagine.
Yeah.
Okay, so
And not everything that's on paper is as well laid out in reality, which I'm sure you've also seen.
yeah, one thing my friend Matt, he would always say, he's like, the name of the game is to understand the drawings and take what the engineer has proposed
Yeah.
and outsmart that drawing and do something better in reality.
Absolutely. How do you
Yeah.
make it better for the customer and the general layout, and just talking about the things and how they come together? Like, we have one that I'm on right now, and the duct wraps around the whole basement, which is awesome. Great airflow. But that bulkhead goes directly in front of the windows. And you're like, I don't think they're going to really want this. And so then you just start to work out being like, this just wasn't imagined as built. And so you just start to break it down.
Okay, so the other component of the company is you guys do commercial work, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I've got a great picture here. Now, this is close to where I live. I live in Palgrave.
Yeah,
Is this near my house?
it is. I believe it's just outside, actually. I can't remember the exact address, but yeah.
Okay, well, we don't want to give
And
that
it's a
away.
big, and Palgrave's a big horse area.
Yeah, so where I live, I mean, I just live in a regular subdivision house, an older subdivision from the 70s, and then a couple spots behind me is where they held the Pan Am Games, and it's the Palgrave Equestrian Center.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is, I wonder, this is not this looks like a private arena.
Yeah, it is a private arena.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, where I live, there's a public arena, actually. Just Palgrave's a nice little town. It's got a general store,
Yeah.
a little pharmacy. It's got the church was converted. The church was converted into a bar.
No way.
Yeah, so
Still a place of praise.
yeah.
Yeah.
So in the summertime, a lot of motorcyclists come, and there's a good parking and outdoor stuff, drink beers on the patio, that kind of stuff.
Nice.
But there's a big horse community. So this building, I'm assuming it's an indoor riding arena so that people can continue to practice equestrian sports over the winter. Is that what it's for?
Yep, that's absolutely what it's for.
Okay, so fill me in. Where's MAK Mechanical on this project? What did you guys do there? And,
So, it's got arenas typically are very cold. Most arenas and barns don't have heating elements to it. This particular one, it's got tube heaters that run across the top. So a tube heater, which you'd probably see in a lot of garages as well in commercial projects to keep people warm.
Yeah. So there's usually a burner at the end.
Yeah.
And then it's shooting gas down the center. Yeah.
And then it's heating up the pipe, and that pipe is radiating heat down to heat the building and the actual physical product. So it's going to heat the inside of that structure. So that metal's going to get warm, the ground's going to get warm, and then everything's going to radiate from that.
And you also guys did ventilation in here too, right?
We did do some ventilation. That part's a little bit trickier with the dust, but with the help of the engineers and figuring out how it's all going to work, you get the fans on either side and start to work on how that can all come into play and shift between summer and winter. I'm pretty sure in that particular location, some of those windows are also mechanical for heat escape in the summer months.
Yeah, we have some of that in our factory. I mean,
oh, do you?
Yeah, well, we used to have
smart technology.
Yeah, we used to have. We got to control the air somehow, and you kind of have to work with the building that you got and the space that you have. So we had radiant heat like that. It's It's actually, if anybody who's listening also has like a Muskoka shop.
Yeah.
Okay, I always joke with my wife, at some point, I'd like to be wealthy enough that I can buy a shop with a house attached to it.
That sounds like a lot of people's dreams.
Yes, but she's not into.
She's not. She doesn't want to bring work home just yet.
Yeah, she's like, that'll be your.
She'll
second
never
wife,
see you,
right?
Yeah.
So it's surprisingly, when I've checked into it anyway, if you wanted to have, let's say, an oversized garage, you're going to build like there's lots of cottages I've seen with like like a detached garage.
Yeah.
Right. Sometimes with a coach house above it. So if you have
that's big these days.
Additional accommodations, that kind of stuff. But quite often it's like somebody's, retirement thing, the classic cars or whatever they're doing.
They're taking that hobby and that's their, like they've stopped working, that's their next big thing.
Yeah, and quite often they don't price. You might see a set of plans and a rough-in for like a bathroom, but they don't do it, right?
Right.
And you just got a big open 24 by 30 square, 2 overhead doors.
That's it, yeah.
Okay, and then they start working in the winter in there, and then they're bringing in plug-in heaters and oil heaters, and it's surprisingly economical. Can somebody call MAK Mechanical and just say, okay, I've got this 24 by 30 peaked roof garage. I'm going to work in the winter. I put a hoist in it. I need some heat. Can you put one of these in?
Oh, yeah.
Can it
two or three pictures, and you're like, I can get you a quote in a heartbeat.
Off
Something
a propane
that easy?
tank?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
So you can do these off a propane
Oh,
tank?
for sure.
Okay.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, and there's also a lovely gentleman, off the top of my head, I think it was More Propane.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. He's a great guy. I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but yeah, I met him at the Muskoka Builders Association a few times.
Yeah, really down to earth guy. He was talking about he's like I don't care if your shop is like on the top of a rock mountain. Well, we got a truck that'll make it up there, a hose that'll get there, fill your propane.
Those guys are the experts in terms of those really tight spots, and they can just make it work.
Yeah, you'd be surprised. Even where I am, I've seen barges go by with a propane truck on it.
Yeah, that's a costly venture, but it works out. You just get a big, huge 1,000-pounder, fill it up once a year, off to the races.
Okay, so if you put a radiant heat like this across the top, how do you would happen to know like how far below the ceiling you need to be, because you don't want to fry the drywall in the ceiling?
Yeah, so and that's where you kind of figure out where it's going to go. So, you got a higher ceiling, you get that, 12 to 18. Oh, run it down the middle, get the deflectors, get the heat to go out to either side for the middle. And or if, let's say you're in a box and the shop's on this side, okay, well, we'll run it on the far side. So, and have the heat kind of come down, or how close you are to the cars, if you're in cars. So you just change where it's going to sit to make sure it's going to work for the building. I
didn't think about that. You got the cars also need to be protected.
Yeah, because if it's too close, you don't want to have that intense heat on a car that close. Our GM Paul, he's got a radiant tube heater in his garage. He's got a 3-bay garage, and it just sits kind of almost down the middle of the first bay, and it deflects to the outside where his bench is.
Gotcha.
And then he's got cars and stuff on the other side he works on. He's a hobby mechanic and small engine kind of repair, does all the toys and stuff. He's got his own little kind of side thing that he does just for kicks, and that's how he's got it set up. So it still gets heat, but the majority of it is deflected towards one side.
Yeah, man, I wish, right now, I have a classic truck, a 77 pickup truck.
Nice.
It doesn't fit. I got my house is pretty old. It doesn't fit in the garage, so we got it nosed into the garage with the tail ass end hanging out on the driveway.
Yeah.
And I put styrofoam around the sides of the truck to stop the wind from blowing in.
Yeah.
And it would be so much nicer if I had one of these. I just don't have the ceiling height for it, right? It's only 9 feet tall, right?
Right, yeah.
But most places they're building brand new. I would encourage anybody who's currently in the design stages to consider, even if they're not going to do it right away, to consider the heating and ventilation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Everybody's turning them into the garage is turning into workout rooms a lot of the time.
Yeah.
There's all these secondary options for garages that were never there. We're making our homes into these, elaborate recreation, hobbyist scenarios. So, absolutely, that's exactly what you should.
Yeah, people want to kind of want to spend more time at home, or have in the last couple of years. Yeah. Okay, so let's dive right into the really nice the nice cottages, the best cottages that you see, and the top GCs, in the Muskoka area.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of work in one of those big cottages are you normally doing? Just run through it like you're pitching a customer.
Yeah, for sure. So you know what? For some of these larger cottages where they just want to have the amenities, they I've always kind of dreamt of. So, you're thinking like, oh, I wish I had this. You're starting out with heated floors. Absolutely. You got a heated basement pad, because once you're heating the actual like contents of the building, it's going to, then you're just maintaining that heat. With that, you're getting, you can have heated walkways. So like that walkway out to the hot tub, out to the pool, that walkway out to the cars.
How do you heat a pot? Like if, let's say you got your hot tub is like a cedar barrel hot tub and it's 20 feet away from the main building.
Yeah. So
what do you heat it with?
So before the concrete goes down or before your steps are going down, you're running a hydronic line underneath. And it's a bigger line that you'd have in your house. It's spec'd for a snow melt, and it's done on a separate line typically. And then you can turn that on. So it's a heated, so it's a snow melt. So like not truly heated, but you're not going to have snow build up, and it's going to stay warmer and not freeze.
Is it glycol?
It's glycol, absolutely. You got to have, if you're in a spot, especially the Muskokas, unless you have that backup generator on your house, you're in glycol country, like
so
all the time.
Just so that anybody who's listening, glycol is it's a non-compressible fluid.
Yeah.
It's very similar to, it's the main component of antifreeze you'd have in a car.
Yeah.
It recirculates, so
Yep.
you're not coming off the well or no water.
No, it's a closed loop system.
Just going in
it's going in a big circle, and it's just maintaining. So if power does go out, you're not gonna crack a line, and then all of a sudden you're in a big problem and redoing a lot of work that's already been done. So you've got that. So you can have your heated floors and all that stuff. People are loving the heated bathroom floors. That's a big one. You want to walk into the bathroom in your bare feet and have that nice warmth on your feet. So you're doing a lot of the hydronics on first and second floors. Some people do all the floors, and then you're moving air. So you're setting ductwork throughout the house, because houses are becoming so tight. You're also doing like HRVs or ERVs.
So
like there's so much that's going into the comfort and health of a home.
So I'm guessing that there's these days, there's systems that you can put in a reasonably sized cottage. Let's say if somebody's knocking down a 1,500 square foot or 2,000 square foot old building and putting up a new cottage, it can be 4,000, 4,500 square feet. It's going to sleep like 12 to 16 people.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a hotel, small hotel.
Okay. People are not going smaller in Muskoka at this point.
Not so much, no.
Okay, so I think there's this idea that there should be an app on their phone. If they want to fire up the heat in certain rooms, they can do that on the drive up from Toronto. They can pull up their phone. Is that?
Oh, yeah. You're going from simple stuff where it's like, and you can get this in your own house. Or even on all these ductless split systems. They've all got something that's attaching into it that's connecting to the Wi-Fi, where you're like, okay, I'm not going to use the heat in the house during this time, or I'm leaving. Dial it down. Okay, we're going up. We're going to be there in about 2 hours, give or take. So top of the morning, you get there, you dial it up so it can kindly have a slow ramp up as you're getting ready. But you can control almost anything by your phone. And heck, like some of the work that goes into connecting all these systems, like cameras, water, hydro, like all this stuff you can get on your phone just with everything being wired properly.
Yeah, there's some. Well, what I've noticed is there's a couple of great. In fact, I met the guys in Port Carling. There's some really good home automation companies.
Oh, tons.
Can they tie into the mechanical that you guys do?
Absolutely, and that's a great part that we were talking about before. When you're talking to the GC and you're doing your planning, like let's talk about your wish list. So when we get down the line, everything is set up properly, because it's hard to kind of retrofit or make sure like certain controls and modules need to work together with the person that's doing the automation, so you get the right wires and you're sending the right information back and forth.
Gotcha. So
yeah.
So that dream is now real. Somebody they can go on their cameras, they can see how much snow there is.
Yeah.
Then they can decide that they're going to be there in 3 hours. They can turn on the heat in advance.
Absolutely.
And they can when they pull up, they can make sure that the lights are on so they can make it down to the garage. And if they want to, they can turn on the hydronics to the hot tub. Probably turn on or heat up the hot tub.
Probably, yeah. I don't see why not. It's like it can all be integrated. It's just a matter of how far you want to take it.
Okay, this might be a loaded question, but
I'm in.
Does any of this automation work in favor of somebody's wallet?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It depends on where you want to be and what kind of automation you want to do, but 100%. We just did an air-to-water heat pump out in the Collingwood area, so that the pool that runs all year long, it's kind of dormant right now.
What does that mean, air-to-water?
Air-to-water. So it's a heat pump that is taking any heat that is in the air, and then it's transferring that heat into a glycol system that's going to then heat exchange with the water of the pool. So it's taking that air and that heat from the heat pump, and it's transferring it to the water. So air to water.
Air to water.
Air to water, yeah.
Well, you talking hot air in the house or like?
No, I'm talking about outside air.
Outside air.
Outside air. It's getting any heat it can from the outside air. It's also getting heat from the unit itself.
Okay.
And then transferring that in, and vice versa. It can cool the water if it needs to, depending on the unit you have. And so the air is heating the water.
So so it sounds to me like there's also crossover with MAK Mechanical and the pool.
Yes, not as much. We're not pool guys, but we are heating guys in that aspect, heating and cooling guys for water. So we can absolutely get into that. We're doing more and more of it these days.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And you're probably coordinating with the pool guys who are constructing the pools.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's, all about finding the right partners and making sure to support each other and figure out the best way to solve the issues for the client.
Okay, well, in my own personal experience, anybody who's watching, again, I would suggest looking up, there's a company called Can Hot Tubs.
Okay.
They're based out of Kitchener.
Okay.
And they make cedar barrel hot tub kits.
Oh, I love it.
They're just beautiful to look at.
That's what I want for my house.
Cedar barrel, yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
and they have,
it's gorgeous.
They differentiate themselves a little bit by using you can go gas with a spa pack, or you can go electrical with a spa pack.
Gotcha.
Okay, depending on the application. But they have a really good liner system. So so you get a cedar barrel on the outside, and that beautiful look of cedar, cedar deck and stuff, and then it's like a vinyl liner that has like a stone print on it.
Oh, neat. Okay.
Yeah, and it's very reasonable, and it's about $10,000 for everything. Or it was a couple years ago.
Right.
They're also at the Cottage Life Show.
Oh, I'm gonna have to go check them out.
Yeah, check them out. I would talk to them about their systems and see if there's coordination or
absolutely. Well, and in
there.
this day and age, so if you're on propane or natural gas, like moving to integrated systems and working together to save that back pocket and using the automation to support that, it's great. Like why not save yourself some money?
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, I think unless there's something that anything else you want to discuss, I mean, we could go. One thing we haven't talked about, actually, we've talked about high-end cottages. What about just simple mechanical work in Barrie? Is that something you guys like?
All day. That's
house?
our bread and butter, right? We've got 30 years of customers, and just we're getting into second and third furnaces in some homes. So just getting in there, trying to get people to do regular maintenance, so they're not being hit with big bills if we can avoid it. That's the mainstay we're trying to get to, is real customer care, so that people know what's coming on. They know what the economics are going to be.
So MAK Mechanical is available to landlords who own rental properties.
Absolutely, we've got tons we work with.
Do you guys do contracts for like apartment buildings and stuff like that?
Absolutely, yeah. Full service contracts, full service team, really great depth in our team, and years of experience. So we're quite lucky that way. And we're taking care of all that.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much for being down here today.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
I think if any homeowners, cottage owners are watching this, they've made it to this point. They really want the information.
I hope so.
But they're only going to be able to. My questions are only as good as my creativity. They might have an actual project that they want to breeze by you. So if you want to wing it off again, website, phone number, email.
You got it. So website is MAK Mechanical.com. You can reach me at 705-828-1280. It's right in my cell, so happy to help you out that way. And the email address is alexm@makmechanical.com.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you very much, Alex.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks for having me out.
Yeah, no
Appreciate
problem.
it.
Okay, Kale, I think we're ready for a wrap. Thank you very much for watching the Lake Effect podcast, coming to you from downtown Barrie at the Sandbox. We're serving Barrie and Muskoka, and we'll see you on the next episode.